After you.
It's good. Quest here.
Final match of the 2008 Continental Championship.
Yeah, Ryan, this should be really exciting. We have two really good players. Matt Markoff is kind of the young veteran, as I like to call him, against James McCoy, a guy that people probably don't know too much about.
Yeah, and James is playing a mid-range deck, I think, is an appropriate title. It's featuring the new Frost Mage, Black Ice Fizzle Freeze.
Go ahead.
Yeah, in R&D, when we saw the deck list, we, instead of calling it really, it is a mage deck that uses Water Elemental and the Interrupt suite of Nether Fracture, Counterspell, and Fizzle, but it's more or less a Miriam deck. A Miriam style color deck. He uses protectors and Spire allies, all to make sure to protect Miriam and to be able to activate her a lot more.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, Miriam's really been one of the more defining cards of the metagame. Exhausted to deal 5 damage to the opposing hero. So, as we're watching this game develop here, I guess we've had Instructor Gerallo already hit play and leave play thanks to Markoff's Vexmaster Narjo. Instructor Gerallo, as you know, is the new 2-drop, 2/3 protector that inspires an ally, so it combos really well with Miriam.
Yes. What's really interesting about this game is that Matt actually did not take a mulligan and kept a no-cost hand.
Got it, sir.
That's just a really gutsy move, especially for his deck who wants to reach 9 and 10 resources to be able to summon his huge monsters.
Yeah, and I know he uses Belt of Blasting to also finish off opponents, and he's been doing that all weekend. Yeah, as you mentioned, he wants to hit the quest, but the funny thing is Markoff is only running 14 quests when James, who is running the more aggressive deck, is actually running 18 quests, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, 18 quests with Corky's Ransom, which is kind of unheard of. But yeah, as you can tell, Matt Markoff does not like quest all that much, but he still has a lot of cards on his deck with the help of the drain manas. So he's able to gain card advantage via the drain mana, the Warlock ability.
Yeah, it's pretty nice because it's also, stripping cards from James.
Yeah, all of those reactive interrupts.
Yeah, that are going to be sitting in his hand when Markoff's drain mana triggers.
The interesting card in James' deck, in my mind, is the Archbishop Benedictus. As I'm studying the deck lists, I try to imagine how James and Matt are actually going to sideboard, and I think James' strategy he needs to decide is Archbishop Benedictus going to be part of his game plan against Matt's Brox. Yeah, but Archbishop Benediction is so bad against all of Matt's removal that maybe the best play is actually take them out after game 1.
Yeah, I think, as you pointed out, Brock being one of the big players this weekend, Brock Bloodcaller was a new card from Hunt for Illidan. It's a 4-drop Ferocity, 4/4 ally that if he doesn't have damage on him at the end of your turn, you have to destroy him. So the idea being that you play him and destroy an ally, and then he gets to take out another one usually too.
Yep. Here in R&D, we knew that Miriam was going to be, format defining, and we like format defining cards as long as we give the players more options to be able to answer those format defining cards. And Brock, I would like to say that Brock was designed more as an answer to Miriam than anything else.
Yeah, and you can kill one Miriam and then still hit something else the next turn. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be format defining cards, but it's always having answers and making sure it's not the same format defining card over and over again that's important.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things actually, I'm always one of the ones in R&D that wants to make really powerful and juice most of our cards, but I also understand that to do that you have to give players really good answers also.
Attack?
What do you think of this classic matchup of just Horde versus Alliance? There was, out of the 8 decks, only 2 were Alliance in the top 8, and I'm glad to see that one actually made it all the way to the finals.
Shadowbolt?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we really did think that Miriam was going to excel above everything else this weekend. A lot of players were scared that everybody was only going to be playing Miriam, but it ended up that more people played Horde. then ended up playing Alliance over the weekend.
It's probably because Horde maybe answers Barium better. Where if you're playing Alliance and Alliance, it just becomes this, you know, who gets Miriam online first.
Yeah. And Alliance doesn't have Brock Bloodcaller.
So what do you think of the Melted Blast thing? When you know, we previewed it, kind of got a little slack.
Yeah, I mean, people didn't like it too much, but I guess recalling the story that Markoff had told me this weekend, you know, his opponent kind of chuckled as he played it, and then all of a sudden his opponent realized that the next turn he was going to ready everything and then deal 10 to him, and then he realized the turn after that he was taking another 10, and all of a sudden the game's over.
Yeah, we basically, we wanted to make sure that, I think Danny Mendel designed this card, and we just wanted to make sure to give casters a way to use gear as actually a finisher. You know, in the past, if you want to use gear to finish off your opponent, you would use cards like, you know, Fellstate Reaper or Thunder Fury in the old days. And I think Melted Blessing does a really good job at being, you know, that finisher.
Down.
And there it is, that Melted Blessing getting Nether Fracture.
Yeah, perfect timing. Yeah, so Nether Fracture is obviously James' biggest answer in this matchup, because everything else, I mean, Matt's running Doshura Rise Strider and Vexmaster Naruto, so James is at a pretty big disadvantage